Hey, welcome to Bollox Talks and Tangents. We got my man Lenny.
What do I know?
He's trying to do the countdown, trying to be the producer here. We're proud of him. He has a microphone in front of you.
I got 3 out of 4 right so far today. I thought I was golden.
This lozenge is sticking to my teeth, so
Man.
I'm already struggling.
Okay.
But no, we got a fun show today.
Oh, yes.
If I can tell you right now, if you guys don't have fun, at least we know we are going
Right.
to have fun.
Right.
And this lozenge literally is having some type of attachment to this tooth in some way that's not comfortable
Don't
to
lose
anyone.
the filling.
And not comfortable to anyone involved.
Don't lose a filling.
All right, but we're Bollox Talks and Tangents. I kind of strong-armed Lenny into doing
Irish
some
whiskey?
Irish whiskey. You know,
It is that month. It is St. Patrick's Day is a week
and
away.
that's where I was going to go with
10
it.
days. Okay.
So we're
Could have waited till next week.
the Gaelic or the Celtic
Festival is this weekend, yeah.
The parade's this weekend.
Large men in dresses.
Yes. Do you have a dress?
I do.
borrow one of
213.
mine?
Yeah, right. No, I have an address. Yeah.
So with that, our first sponsor is Meehan's Irish Pub.
Place to be this month. Ain't nobody going to do it better in this town.
No, I'm telling you, these guys, they do Irish right. So
All year long. They just do it on
Reggie-
steroids now.
Reggie's such a good dude. Ran into him at Home Depot the other day.
Oh, God, what is he building now?
Well, he's always fixing stuff around the bar.
Best maintained place in St. Augustine.
He does such a great job, and they have wonderful food. Mm-hmm. 3 great bars. Wonderful staff.
Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I don't
A lot
know
of
how
Irish
many,
whiskey.
I don't know how many of those Jameson bottles that are on the
Oh, there's a
wall
lot up there.
that should have my name on it.
Oh, impressive.
I don't know how many should. I don't know.
I can tell you how many
actually
don't
do.
have mine on it. None.
None? You got 0, huh?
No, no.
I don't know.
But there's a couple of dead soldiers of bourbon that have been directly related to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where my number stands with that. So,
But again, the largest, if I'm correct, I believe it's the largest or one of the largest collections of Irish whiskey in the country. Places have wine lists, beer lists. They've got an Irish whiskey list, and it's like 5 pages, 4 pages. Get some great stuff, and when a new release or an exotic comes out, they get an allocation for it where other places don't.
yeah.
So if you like Irish whiskey, go to Meehan's.
Yeah.
Talk to the bartenders. They
Check
know
them
their
out.
stuff.
Check them out. So, and you love that Irish cream.
Oh, it is rich and delicious.
Yeah.
I do.
Blake's mac
do.
and cheese. He's an addict of the mac and
Yep.
cheese.
Yeah, there's a bunch of go-tos there that it's tough to go and have something else because you're so excited about getting your favorite there because it's so good.
Yep. Also on sponsor row, we have the St. Augustine Pirate Museum. They have over 800 artifacts. You took your family there.
Yep.
Just a couple weeks ago, Rebecca
Great time.
and her friends with a couple of the girls went. Absolutely loved it. It's just there's so much to do there. I haven't been back in about probably a year. I need to get my butt back in there because they're constantly changing and doing different things. But they do just an amazing job. And I'm so happy they've been one of our sponsors since the very beginning.
And I didn't mention this, but when we were there last time, there was a small camera crew doing something for, I want to say, the History Channel, possibly, but they were filming the Jolly Roger flag, one of the
flag.
two known legitimate pirate Jolly Roger flags still in existence. And so I haven't found out what it's going to be on as far as televised, but they were doing that as part of a film for a documentary of some nature.
Yeah, and because I've watched that mockumentary, it was a drama documentary. I wanted to find out if that flag actually was in Nassau.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, because Nassau was like
Pirate Central.
the hub of Pirate Central.
Yeah.
I want to know if that flag was actually there. So,
Okay.
so I have to ask. The right pirate.
Exactly.
Also on sponsor row, Citygate Spirits. They co-sponsor with St. Augustine Distilleries. They do amazing tours. St. Augustine Distillery was named best distillery tour in the country. They have great flavors. Yeah. Every other week we try one of their flavors. We throw something else in between. Just so happy those guys are a part. Will Hensler, just an amazing job over there. What a great stop for the city.
It's it's very clever and creative too, because they have so many different flavors at the city gates over on Sponsor Row, over by the Bayfront, that you can get any flavor of anything you want, and you take it home to just mix it with a little bit of club soda, and you got a refreshing cocktail. Use it in desserts. I mean, there's a myriad of ways you can use that. The peach is so peachy.
No, it literally, I could put that on ice cream with like some angel food cake.
Yep.
I mean, how great would that be?
And flambe it.
Oh, flambe it.
Ooh, might melt the ice cream, but you'll toast the cake.
Yeah, no, give a little crunch.
A little
to the
toasted
cake.
pound cake for sure, absolutely.
So, all right.
And then the big distillery is just wonderful.
Yeah, no, they have so many different flavors of bourbon. I think we did the port last week.
We did the port finish, yeah.
The port finish last week. Great
Delicious.
sipping after dinner bourbon.
Yep.
So they have some wonderful flavors. I like the toasted, and their small batches, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
All right, Abare, Kresge and Associates. It is tax season. These guys keep me out of trouble. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a very complicated return to do.
I can only imagine.
I have a couple little things going on in my world. So these guys are the guys that get all those in the right spaces and all those in the in the right lines and make sure I pay the right bills.
Which reminds me, it's the beginning of March. I've got to collect my stuff and bring it north or send it north.
Yeah. So, you want to do Kaiser's?
No, I want you to do Kaiser's because you have breakfast there, because they're now serving breakfast from 7 to 10.
I did the breakfast there on
Breakfast
Tuesday.
sandwiches. I need to qualify.
Yeah.
Breakfast sandwiches.
It's breakfast sandwiches. I did the pork roll with
Very Jersey
egg,
of you.
Egg and cheese. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I feel Jersey. And then Rebecca did the egg and cheese sandwich. It's on a Kaiser roll, and it was delicious.
2 eggs, cooked right there before you. Melted cheese. You got your choice of cheeses, and you know what? I was thinking about this today because I was there. I met a friend there for lunch. I saw the handsome Blake Blevins there having lunch with somebody else, and I had the pastrami Reuben, the daddle Reuben, and I said, you know what? Pastrami and eggs isn't bad, so do a little pastrami on the egg sandwich. That's the way to go, because pastrami and eggs is a thing. It's I'm not making that up. That's a thing.
I can tell you this. I had the rolly last week. All right. The next day, what I had left over of the rolly, I put into an omelet.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Let me tell you, that was one of my best omelets that I've personally made.
Yeah.
And it's very, very similar to what you just
absolutely.
said. So I was like, I can tell you this. If I don't finish the rolly, it is going home with me because it's going to be an omelet the next day.
I've got half of my daddle Reuben at home, and I was thinking about whether it's going to hold up or sog out, and if it does, I'll just deconstruct it and reconstruct it.
Rip the meat out, reconstruct.
That's it. Absolutely. Who are we forgetting? Anybody?
All right, I think we got everybody.
Nice.
So,
Coquina Coast.
All right, we've talked about the whiskey. Word origins.
Did you plug Coquina Coast already?
Oh, Coquina Coast Realty. Yeah.
He always forgets himself.
The most important one.
There you go.
Yeah. If anybody has any needs, and by the way, I have office space available in the Treasury.
Okay.
I have some retail space available right along the plaza there. If somebody's looking for some retail space, and if you want to sell or buy, I do residential and commercial. So just give me a call. We'll talk through it. If I'm not your guy, I'll tell you who I think's the best guy to take care of you.
You're a fair and honorable man.
Yeah. So, and that number is 904-669-7901.
All right. Let's origin a word.
Origin a word.
See, I think I'm impressed by you.
Yes. What do you mean?
Well, if that's your word origin, it's tied into the theme, and I didn't go theme oriented.
Well, I'm going to start with the one that's not so tied into it.
Okay, we're doing two again.
I'm doing network.
I can do 2 of them. Okay.
So those are 2 different ones.
Right.
All right. So I'm doing network.
Okay.
So network goes all the way back to the 1550s. Okay, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So
you do that. Am I visualizing people on the shore, fixing fishing nets? Because that would be network.
It's very similar.
Okay.
Very similar to that. It's an arrangement of wires and threads as they work together.
Okay.
Okay. And basically the first time it was used somewhat in the way that it's used now, it was talking about rivers and their connection
Okay,
points.
sure.
And
Sure, for
didn't
transportation, yeah.
That didn't come about until till the 1830s, like the steamships and stuff like that.
That was commerce was done
Yeah.
by river for sure.
Yeah. And it didn't come a network about transmitters and stuff like that didn't come into play until 1914. So like for radio and stuff like that.
Right.
And then later on in the 70s, it became part of computers.
And now it's socializing among
Mm-hmm.
a peer group to try to make connections and as a business tool.
1982 is when that came into play.
Okay.
So the word has morphed itself into so many different things, still meaning
All the same
those
idea, right?
exact same
Yeah,
things
yeah.
and all the connections. So it's basically the woven together to create the network.
Except now you play your cards right, you might get brunch or a cocktail.
Yeah, if you're in the right network.
That's that's exactly it. Hey, you know what? I'm just mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah,
That was a great movie.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. Every now and again I throw my window open and just scream that just because.
yeah. No, sometimes it's got to be done.
True.
So what's your word origin?
Well, I got two of them, so I'm going to do them I'll do them together because the first one is kick the bucket. Okay.
There's a couple of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the obvious one makes perfect sense, and that was if you were committing suicide, you would put a rope around your neck, throw it over a thing, hang there, and you stand on a bucket,
Yep.
and then you would kick the bucket out from under you.
Yep.
So you literally kicked the bucket and you died, and it became a euphemism for dying.
Yes.
You know, so and so kicked the bucket. You know, people did it literally and committed suicide, or figuratively, and were heels up,
Yep.
heels down, dead.
I think it's heels down.
Okay, yeah, and dead.
Someone buries you that way, your ass up. If your heels are up, your ass is up.
Depend. Can I be buried on my side? I'm a side sleeper.
Okay.
And then from that morphed into the contemporary bucket list, and that morphed out
Before
of
you kick the bucket.
well, in anticipation of kicking the bucket, not suicidally, but the fact that you're going to keel over and die at some point. You want to not necessarily get all your ducks in a row, which we might say for another day, dear. Remember that one. But you're going to try to accomplish all the things that you wanted to accomplish that you didn't, and it goes into your bucket for your bucket list to be able to do that. Now it was every place I tried to find an origin for bucket list kept coming back to the movie with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, which I thought was a little bit silly. Not the movie necessarily, but the fact that they tied it directly to that, because the phrase had been around as far as putting everything that you wanted to do
Yeah.
in a list or a bucket much longer than that, or earlier than that.
Do you have any particular item on your bucket list you're like, I really want to get that done?
Not so much anymore. I've done a lot of things. I mean, there's things I would like to do, but nothing that I can say, emphatically, I must do this before I die. Because there's a bunch of them, but and I've checked a bunch of things off what would have been a bucket list that I've done. I mean, I'd like to see the Northern Lights. You've taken care of that for yourself, absolutely. I'd like to see the Northern Lights. I think that's something that's going to be pretty impressive. Otherwise, I have no desire to see the bottom of the Mariana Trench or go down to the Titanic, because that doesn't work
that'll
out so
make
well
your brain
anymore.
blow up
Yeah,
at
that
the
doesn't
bottom,
work out so well anymore. No. But I don't know. I mean, I've met famous people. I've met celebrities. I produced. I've done
Here's
a lot
my
of stuff.
question. Have you done more than 10-year-old Lenny would have believed you've done?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without hesitation.
Yeah.
Between the stuff that I did in college, and thank you, Cornell. I say in all candor, you offered me a hell of an education. If I go back, I will take you up on it, because I did so many extracurricular things in college that was as educational as my college education.
Well, and it leads to today's topic.
It's true. Well, that was not even it. Well, that's the amazo weed, right? The skunk weed and the amazo weed on there for sure.
Yeah.
Grown in Trumansburg, but that's that'll get there later. Came in mason jars.
So you really don't have anything that really stands out.
That I have an urgency.
I want to see the 7 natural wonders of the
Okay.
world. So and I think I got a pretty good
See-
start on that. So I just got to stick around to make sure I get at least one of those trips in.
It's
Every other
interesting
year.
because I'd like to see Petra,
Okay.
and I'd like to see Jerusalem,
Okay.
but I know me well enough to know that I can't keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I would go there, and it's like, I understand. You go back 5,000 years. It was your sand. It's their sand. And we're living it today, literally living it today. And it's like, and I hate to sound trite, but why can't we all get along? You know, work it through. You got to work it through. This animosity is not helping anybody.
Wars come from three things, right? Isn't it? It's power, religion, and
Territory.
love.
Okay. Well, Helen, yeah, okay. Helen, there you go. Launched 1,000 ships, that woman did.
So no, it's power, religion, and money. Usually, is what it is.
And you know what? And that's the same thing with Irish whiskey. It's another reason why I'd love to go to Ireland. I really would. But you know what? I don't understand. First of all, it's the same freaking Jesus. The Catholics and the Protestants dislike each other vehemently.
That makes no sense to me.
And I don't understand it. I mean, Ireland is a progressive country. They have abortion. God love them. You know, there's other things that they do there. They have education.
Decades before we did.
Correct.
They had a woman president.
It's a literate country.
Yeah.
So again, you know, religion. And I'm sorry. Just one quick question for you here on the quiz.
Yeah.
What's the first tenet of the Ten Commandments?
Thou shalt not kill. I don't know.
I didn't know if there's an that's it.
Yeah.
But there's no asterisk that said unless you're doing it in the name of religion.
Yeah, they invented.
So what the hell is that all about? Come on.
Yeah. Well,
help me out here, people, please. I don't quite get it.
Well, in war seems to be okay, but killing isn't. So if you do it under the guise of war, then you're okay. That's why the Crusades were okay.
Unless you were crusaded against.
No, that's their rationalization.
I understand that. No. I'm being, intentionally flip because it makes no sense to me.
You know what all this is? It's a big smoke screen.
Could you explain that to me, please?
All right.
Would you?
My next word origin.
I heard.
I don't know how we got here. It's so weird. All right. So smoke screen came about.
Said he checking his notes.
Yeah. No. Just making sure we're on track here. It came about during World War I.
Okay. Makes sense. Trench warfare.
Gotcha. So they would throw the big smoke screen out and the smoke bombs and stuff like that so they can move behind the lines without the enemy seeing what they were doing. All right. And now it's more of a political term, to distract someone against it. We got the State of the Union today. I'm sure there's going to be some smoke screens thrown up from both sides tonight because it's such a political backlash on it. But it came from 1915, all right? And it basically was to mislead or distract the enemy during World War I.
And that worked and that was a brutal freaking war.
Oh, no, I mean...
That was, the war to end all war. First of all, it didn't. And second of all, it was downright brutal.
Yeah. The big thing is the Spanish flu probably ended the war quicker than any other weapon or anything else because it went through the German army. It went through everyone's army. Between 20 and 50 million people died. Some of these guys got the flu and died right there in those trenches.
Oof.
So, I mean, what a horrible way to go.
So if you're not vaccine phobic, get your flu shots, people, just in case.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we're doing cannabis today, and somehow I got kicked off of my own show. So I got to find my way back. But
all right. So you do that, and I'll start with the fact that it's been kicking around for years.
Go with?
Well, just for a little historical context, Chinese Emperor Sheng Nung in 2727 BC was smoking weed. Mm-hmm. So it dates that far back. That's 4,000. That's 4,000 years.
I had it almost 12,000 years. Is one of the documents, but
really,
yeah. I got to where you were at with the 4,000 because that's more true civilization.
Right. Yeah.
But it basically said something as far back as 12,000 years.
Interesting. I wonder who was and how happy they were.
I'm sure it's somebody threw that plant on the fire to keep warm and went, whoa.
Right. Thank you, Prometheus. Look at the colors. Look at the colors.
That was great.
Yep.
I've never slept so good. Man, hand me some more of that dirt food.
And it's everywhere because, what's the nickname for marijuana? Weed.
There's so much weed.
It's weed.
Well,
and I
have the country of Bhutan.
Okay.
Okay. So do you understand in the country of Bhutan, it's almost like it is taken over the country.
Really?
It grows through sidewalks. It grows on the side of the road. They can't get rid of it. it is like grass. They cut it.
Which is also
and
another name for it.
Another word for
Thank
grass.
you very much.
But this kind of bhutan basically is
See, but I wonder if it becomes psychoactive or it goes to flower because you've got to separate the males from the females when you're growing marijuana for cultivation for the THC high and the psychoactive effect. You have to separate the males from the females, otherwise they end up germinating and going to flower, and you don't get. You get buds, but you don't want them. You don't want them all excited by the neighbor because marijuana plants are dioecious, and that means they're male and female plants. Not on one. There's a male plant and a female plant.
Yeah, you see, you made my brain hurt right there.
You got to keep the males away from the females.
Here's how it reads: the Kingdom of Bhutan, the cannabis is as common as grass. It grows everywhere,
like
in
that.
the wild, in cities, even in cracks of sidewalks. It is used to feed pigs, but it's commonly viewed as a pest, a real weed.
Right.
So, it's basically not looked at as a medical thing. It's
Correct.
looked at as like what we would look at as
It's like ragweed. It's
ragweed
right.
or
kudzu. It's their kudzu. There you go. Let's go
That's
southern.
That's where I was trying to go.
There you go.
with it.
Kudzu. That'll get you.
Yeah. So kudzu is not your friend if you're a Parks and Rec guy.
No.
All right. So I was reading through and like famous people that were associated with weed.
Okay.
Did you do any of those things at all, or did you?
No, I just know that George Washington. No, I got a lot of contemporary anecdotal information. But all I know is George Washington grew hemp. But that's when they're making ropes and fabric out of it. You know, so hemp was cultivatable. Now you got a couple of states that will allow you to cultivate hemp for hemp oil. Not psychoactive, but to do it as a cash crop. And it's a good cash crop. Rope, oils, fabric, paper. It's a very functional plant.
Well, in the colony in the 17th century, in the colony of Virginia, because going to the George Washington thing, the Navy needed hemp for their lines and,
Ropes,
and sailcloth. So Virginia required the planters to provide the seed. So 30% of your crop
Had to be
hemp.
Nice. If they only knew then, they'd have a much happier Navy.
Yeah, if they only knew what to do, how to get the extra.
Exactly.
So, but one of the ones that really stood out to me, the stories that I read, was the story of Shakespeare.
William.
Willie
Boy,
smoked,
we haven't brought him up in weeks.
Willie smoked cannabis. So the question is, to toke
Or not to toke?
or not to toke? That is
We'd
the
have
question.
to ask Bill Clinton that one.
So, scientists found 400-year-old pipes in Shakespeare's garden. So they did the garden.
Did the resin? Okay.
And out of the 24 pipes they found, 8 of them contained cannabis.
Nice. Well, he was a visual writer.
I mean, half of our word origins come
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
from old Willie.
Yeah.
So,
Impressive. Okay.
so would we have all these great literature things if it wasn't for weed?
Maybe not.
Okay.
We'll never know.
And I'm just letting you know right now, my edible is officially kicked in.
There you go. Okay.
So I'm going to be smiling a little bit more.
So how much better looking am I?
Not really.
Damn it. I tried.
I'm more honest now.
Well, that's not helping
So
me.
be careful what you say.
Thank you. Yeah. So you want history? You want anecdotal? What do you want? Ask me anything. I got a board full of colors here, and boy, are they looking good.
Let's do anecdotal. Let's stay with the
Okay.
anecdotal stuff.
So when I was in college, outside of Ithaca, there's a town called Trumansburg.
Okay.
And somebody there grew, to this day, some of the best weed ever.
Okay.
Ever. And when you would get it, you would get an ounce literally in a mason jar. And all it was cotton ball sized buds. And if it was in the mason jar, you were fine. But as soon as you opened that jar, people within a 20-yard radius knew exactly what was going on, because it was also named, it was Amazo weed, because it was that good. It was also skunk weed.
Ooh.
And it was pungent.
Ooh.
But it was a beautiful presentation. Your ounce came in a mason jar. It was beautiful. And back then it was, affordable by contemporary standards.
Yeah.
So that was very lovely to be up there at the time. I did get a kick out of the fact that in 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act went into effect, and they spelled marijuana with an H. And they're blaming all that on Texas because, in the Great Depression, Mexicans were, what a surprise, coming over the border to work in the United States.
Never heard of that before.
Not novel in any way, shape, or form, mind you.
Yeah, that's never happened in our society.
Nope. And people were getting pissed off because the Mexicans were taking jobs and the Mexicans were smoking marijuana. So, they passed the Marijuana with the H Tax Act, which made it illegal, and you had to pay an exorbitant tax for that. And the object was, if they made marijuana illegal and harder to get, the Mexicans would go back across the border of their own volition because they couldn't smoke here. Also, the contemporary wisdom at the time, and I can tell you that this ain't true, that if you smoked marijuana, it caused, according to Texas, bloodlust and superhuman strength.
I've never,
not so much.
I've never been stoned and went, I think I can fly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, also that was, and in the 30s, Reefer Madness came out. And that was a black and white movie that was a cautionary tale about the evils of marijuana, which by the late 60s became just a freaking goof.
Yeah.
You know?
And Heather just said it, so it wasn't illegal yet. That didn't really come into play until like the 1930s or something.
Well, it was
like
37.
That.
It became illegal in 37.
Yeah.
In 1970, it went on the Controlled Substance Act. And the way they have that act scheduled, it's crazy. There's Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3 drugs. And, Schedule 3 drugs are testosterone and steroids and Tylenol with codeine. A Schedule 1 drug is heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and peyote. The current FDA and DEA is trying to move marijuana from a Schedule 1 with heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and peyote into a Schedule 3 drug with Tylenol with codeine, which kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because in theory, Schedule 1 drugs have no medicinal benefit. Well, you know what? Right about now, there's 38 states out of the 50. So that's enough to get a constitutional amendment, by the way.
Medical or
Is medical.
yeah.
38 states are medical, 3 territories, and Washington, D.C. There are 24 states that are recreational, so just under half, but it'll be more than half because at the end of the year, Ohio becomes recreational, and in 25, Minnesota becomes recreational, and 2 of the territories and D.C.
Yeah.
So the preponderance is the majority of the people in the country are about to or can get medical.
Even when it's medical.
Yeah.
Even when it's medical, they're not real strict on it.
My anxiety is brutal.
Yeah, mine too. Obviously, but it's not. So once it gets,
And it actually is.
once it gets, I really don't have. Yes, I do.
I read too many newspapers. That's my problem.
Yeah, you really do.
Oh, yeah.
But once it gets medical, then it's almost like the next step's going to happen.
Right. It just takes a little longer. It depends on where you are. But I find the interesting thing is, and it's a state-by-state situation, Florida controls the quantity of, I believe, I'm not going to be, 100% certain on this, but controls and legislates the amount of THC in your marijuana.
Yeah.
So they're engineering the marijuana nowadays. So some people that are doing it, black market or on their own or certain states have high potency, and high THC. And
Yeah.
THC has gone up. From when I started smoking marijuana, and in full disclosure, I'm 66. I've been smoking marijuana for 51 years, since I was 15.
Yeah.
And I'm a productive adult.
So I was going to ask that question. When was the first time you actually
15.
smoked marijuana?
15.
So you were 15. I was probably about that same age.
Salt Lake City, behind a KOA campground freezer, in strawberry rolling papers on a cross-country teen tour.
Yeah, I was probably 15. I probably was either a freshman or I might have been a sophomore at that time. I know I was with seniors that were on the team, and that's I did it to be cool.
I was going to say peer pressure.
I did it to be cool.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I didn't smoke or I didn't chew tobacco like a lot of baseball players.
Good for you. Right.
I did, but I had a whole Red Man incident that made me throw up, and I threw up a lung.
That stuff is strong.
Yeah, no.
Wakes you right up in a bad way.
I got taken out at second base. This is the land for you. I'm 13 years old. Got a chaw of Red Man in. 13 years old. Got a chaw of Red Man in. And I get taken out, flipped onto my back, and I swallow it.
Oh, God.
So I go to center field.
You
I go
didn't
to-
puke?
Oh, no, I go to center field and throw up my gun.
Okay.
Throw up everything that's in me. My dad is my coach on my Babe Ruth team. The other coach goes, "You going to go out there and help me?" He's like, "Nope." He's on his own. He got himself, and I never chewed tobacco or dipped or did any of that.
It was a learning experience.
So I couldn't smoke cigarettes because my dad was a smoker, and on long trips, my dad would crack the window about this much, and just smoke, put up a smoke screen on me and my sister in the back and just kill us.
Yep.
So I never was a smoker anyway, and to this day, I still am not a person who does the greens. I'm not a guy who smokes. I have my little pen,
right,
for my anxiety, of course,
right.
And but I'm not a guy who lights up the real grass.
And I prefer a joint to not. A good bong is fine, but nowadays edibles are so much gentler on my lungs. But I grew up with a father who was a heavy smoker when I was a kid. At least your father cranked the window.
Yeah.
Nope. We were in that family station wagon, and man, oh man. By the way, no seatbelts, and I'm leaning over the back of the front seat. So if we hit anything or stopped, man, I was going through the windshield.
That little flat part on the back of the windshield. I was small enough. I'd sleep.
Oh yeah,
I'd
in the
sleep
back window.
up there.
Yeah,
I'd sleep up there like the Chihuahua dog.
Right, exactly. Your head rolling back and forth.
All right, and Davey called it flour. They just started calling it flour, Davey. And we didn't call it flour in the 70s.
It was grass. It was grass. It was weed.
It was weed.
Yeah, I got news for you. You want to age yourself?
Pot. Yeah.
Well, first of all, ask somebody where you can get a lid.
Yeah.
Ask them what a lid is.
Yeah.
A lid is an ounce of marijuana.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you used to be able to roll. In college, you get a lid of marijuana. You get an ounce of marijuana, and you could roll, God's honest truth, 40 joints, not a problem. And I'm not talking pin joints, but you could roll 40 reasonable joints. Good luck nowadays.
But now it's so much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I remember as a kid, and I would, and I can tell you this. When I was 15, I did it that one time. I didn't touch it again until junior college. Junior college, I did it maybe 2 or 3 times. I didn't touch it again until after my career at the county was over.
Right.
So I just, and I can tell you one of the things when I retired, I said, I'm going to smoke a joint, because hey, you have drug tests and stuff like that. I was like, I'm going to do that. And I was like, oh, I see why these guys got like this.
It ain't bad.
Yeah,
it ain't bad.
I see why these guys like this. But even now, I'm more of a I'm more of a whiskey guy over smoking. So
whiskey will well, not whiskey. I don't want to pick on my whiskey, but alcohol is physically worse for you, and more dangerous in public. You don't see a bunch of stoners brawling outside of a bar because somebody hit on somebody else's girl.
Yeah. No, it just doesn't work like that.
No, not so much.
So,
but it's but now it's gotten so technical. When we're growing up, you had weed, and you had pot, and it was Colombian was impressive. You had Mexican, which was really not very good. You had Jamaican, which was different, and you had like something like Acapulco Gold. And now all of a sudden, you've got Hindu Kush, Purple Haze, Pai Gow Punch, Singapore Sling. Everything's got a name. And it's all about the terpenes now. Yes. It's about the chemicals in the marijuana. And if they can talk about the terpenes, this one makes you sleep better. This one takes care of your anxiety. This one calms you down. This one makes you smoother. This one makes you higher. Indica, which is, and for years, with my inability to keep things straight, I had a hard time telling the difference between indica and sativa, which are the two main branch. Shiite, Sunni.
They affect me very differently.
Well, sativa is more the upper, more the cerebral, and indica is the more physical. And the only way I can remember them is somebody said indica in the couch.
Yeah,
and that's how I remember them.
And when you go to buy it, that's what they tell you.
Yep,
too.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now, 100% that works for me.
Yeah.
So the pen that I would have beside my bed, if I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd hit it and
indica,
I'd be like, right back out.
Well, but so now they deal with all these terpenes, and if they can do a terpene for anxiety and a terpene for depression and a terpene for mood and for this and that, could you get a freaking terpene in there that takes care of the munchies, please? Would you be able to craft a marijuana that doesn't make you hungry? Because that's just brutal, man.
Well, I don't think I get more hungry, but things do seem to taste better.
Well, that's for sure.
All right. You were talking about different countries there. Mm-hmm. All right. I have the list of the top 10. Don't look over here. I'm going to cover it.
For consumption?
Top 10 for production.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So Blake, are you awake in there? Okay,
Yes.
Couldn't hear you.
Is your mic on?
Beep, boop, beep, beep, beep,
Yep.
boop.
All right.
Oh,
So
just like Donald Trump. He says that too.
top
Bing, bing, bong, bong.
Again, he does that too.
top 10. Okay, it's definitely kicking in because you guys just really confused the hell out of me. All right. So Blake, I'm gonna give Lenny the expert advantage here. I'm gonna let you go first.
Stop cough laughing, Lenny.
Yeah. All right. He hit that bong a little too early. All right. Give me your first pick. Production of marijuana by country.
Ooh, I'm going to say Mexico.
Mexico is number 4. Okay. Point for you. Lenny,
United States.
number 1.
Yeah.
All right. Point
Yeah.
for you. Blake,
Ooh, I'm going to say Canada.
Canada is number 8.
Really?
Yep.
I would expect that to be much higher.
Yep. Number 8.
All right. Jamaica.
Number 7.
Ooh, disappointing.
You guys are on fire. But that's what I knew growing up was
Right.
Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaican for sure.
Yeah.
And Rastafarians.
Yep.
Man, I saw a guy roll a joint in a cave in his hand. That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
In Italy, Rastafarians can smoke weed. They're the only one, but it's because of religion.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blake, to you.
I'm going to say India.
India is number 10. Don't you be looking in there, Blake.
The Netherlands or wherever Amsterdam is.
Not on the list.
Surprisingly.
Too small.
Ooh, okay.
All right, Blake, you got to lead 3-2. You got 2 more chances.
It has to be a South American country, but Colombia is too obvious. I'm going to say Paraguay.
Paraguay is number 6.
Then I'm going to leap right in and take Colombia.
Number 5. You guys are missing 2 and 3.
All right.
Number 9.
All right. I think Africa makes a good amount as well. I'm going to say Morocco.
Morocco's number 2.
For hashish. Gotcha.
Hashish.
Yeah, it's for hash, baby. Hash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your last guess. There's no way to win. Blake went 5 for 5.
Blake always beats me. What do we got left? Morocco, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan's number 3.
Make it a comeback.
The only one you missed is Nigeria.
Interesting. Okay.
You guys are good with your weed. I'm surprised at you, Blake Blevins. All right.
He's a bright young man.
We got to talk about our amazing sponsors again. Coquina Coast Realty, whether it's residential or commercial, give me a call, 904-669-7901. Kaiser's Deli. You two talk about Kaiser's Deli. I'm having a sip.
Well, for those of you who are out tomorrow, I'm been working in the deli all day from 10 to about 4. So if you want a sandwich, come by. You want to see me in person, I'll sign autographs. Why you would want one, I don't know. Just don't bring me a blank check. That's all I'm just saying.
That probably wouldn't be good.
Nah, no.
It'll help your weed consumption.
But yeah, come on in. And, if you're an early riser, don't forget they're doing breakfast sandwiches, egg sandwiches. I'm planning on going to work actually early tomorrow to get an egg sandwich before they close the grill.
I'm telling you, it's worth the trip.
Yep.
I'm probably going to do the pastrami.
I'm telling you, I try
week.
that. Absolutely.
I'm going to do the
Absolutely.
pastrami one next.
It's the way to go.
All right.
I better warn.
Abare, Kresge and Associates, the best accountants in town. It is tax season. Don't think you can do your taxes better. You cannot. These guys are updated on all the new rules, all the new laws, and all the ways to save you money. Give them a call, Abare, Kresge and Associates.
And don't doubt that it's not going to change in the next year. So
Yeah, it is going to change. Meehan's, you got it.
wonderful place to be. Especially, they've got a whole schedule. Check their website, check their schedule, because this is a big month for Meehan's. You've got the Celtic Fest this weekend. You've got St. Patrick's Day the weekend after that with the parade. The parade may be for Celtic Fest.
I think it's this
this
week.
Saturday.
I think
yeah,
it's this week.
But they've got music outside, inside, upstairs, downstairs. Well, not upstairs, but fresh oysters. Great staff, great food, and like I said, Erin Gobra, put on your green and go. That's BRAGH, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Put on your green and drink your Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
By the way, if you go in there, try Writer's Tears, and WRITERS, Writers Tears. Rolly used to recommend that to the people on my tour, and I had nobody dislike it. It's one of their whiskeys they have, and it's great.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent tip. All right. St. Augustine Distillery and Citygate Spirits, both those guys, local here in town, sister companies. St. Augustine Distillery, we usually have their bourbon up on our table here.
Next week.
We went the March Irish whiskey today, and I appreciate you taking the sacrifice
all good.
for it.
Yeah.
You got through it, right?
It was a horrible sacrifice, but I was willing to make it for Bollox.
Thank you.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I appreciate it.
You notice how I suffered.
But good bourbon, quality bourbon, St. Augustine Distillery. Go by and check them
Outstanding.
out. Other spirits, unique spirits, and wonderful moonshine. Stop in, try the tasting tour of Citygate Spirits.
Try the peach.
They do just an amazing job, and the peach is yummy. All right. So I did some interesting stories also.
Okay.
And one of the ones that I found that I thought was the most hilarious of the president that was a smuggler.
Ooh. I mean, everybody's going to think Andrew Jackson just because he was such a rapscallion, but I don't know that it was he.
All right. Well, you have to come after 1937.
Oh, okay.
If we're talking about weed, because weed wasn't illegal, so it wouldn't have been smuggling until 1937.
Bill Clinton in the Sachs case? Wow, that's a tough one.
I'll give you another hint.
Oh, how about W?
Nope, I'll give you another hint. It happened while he was vice president. So it was a vice president that became president.
Was he cognizant of the fact that he was smuggling, or was he just a mule?
He knew, but he had great respect for the person that he was helping. And he was vice president at the time.
I don't know if this is going to help Joe Biden get votes or not. I'll play. I have no idea.
Richard Nixon.
Dick.
Yes.
Who he really was a tricky dick.
Richard Nixon. Here's a guy who was a Quaker. He didn't smoke it himself, but he idolized Louis Armstrong.
Okay.
So in 1958, when vice president, Nixon was at the New York airport that happened to see a very nervous-looking Louis Armstrong, who happened to be carrying 3 pounds of cannabis.
That's dealer weight, man. That's felony weight.
Okay? About to cross through customs inspection, Nixon walked over to him, offered to carry Armstrong's bags, and just walked the trumpet player past the inspection without any trouble.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I never heard that. That's fabulous.
I thought it was beautiful.
That's just fabulous.
So he got it past U.S. Customs in 1958 as vice president because he idolized Louis Armstrong and who he was.
I mean, I love Louis Armstrong to this day, but
where would Louis' career have been if that went in the other direction? So
yeah,
where would he have been in history?
Huh.
So
that's wild.
Isn't that pretty wild?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Good job, Richard Nixon.
Yeah. Tricky dick.
Yep.
All right.
What else?
So what you got over there?
I got RSO, Rick Simpson oil. And it's interesting because
Simpson oil.
Yeah, Rick Simpson was a Canadian engineer who developed some cancers, and he worked in a factory where there was asbestos and things. He developed, and I completely didn't understand the genesis of Rick Simpson oil. I thought it was for a kid that was having epileptic fits, but that's something else. And I guess it's not Oliver's oil. It's somebody will know. Because I looked up Oliver's oil and I'm getting a high flame point olive oil, and that's not what I was looking for. But there was a father who went and developed a cannabis oil that either mitigated or diminished or cured his child's seizures. Because cannabis is very good for people who have seizures, I believe.
Yes.
And I thought that was Rick Simpson, but Rick Simpson apparently is claiming that cannabis cured some of his cancers, skin cancer and things of that nature.
I don't know how that would work in skin cancer.
Apparently he did. I've got to go back and follow it up.
I don't think the molecular science behind that's going to work for him.
Well,
it might have made him feel better about it.
Well, that's the other thing, because when I was living in New York in the early '80s, right at the advent of the AIDS explosion. I was living in the West Village with the woman I was living with at the time for edification purposes. But it was also the heart.
Just throw that in.
Well,
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
no, but it was the center of
was.
the New York gay experience.
Yes.
And it was, trust me, it was a magnificent place to live at the time. And, I'm going to sound like a schmuck. Some of my best friends were, because I worked in the restaurant industry and,
No, it was a tough time.
but,
And a very evil time, by the way.
absolutely.
U.S., you did a terrible job doing that.
But marijuana was, it became to work on the symptoms and the nausea a little bit after the fact. That the initial thing is, in Africa, for the longest time, they called AIDS slim because people would lose so much weight, they would become so skinny, and then they would, that would precipitate their death. So marijuana became a way to create an appetite for people who were AIDS sufferers at the time. So they would smoke marijuana, and it would develop an appetite, so at least they could stave off the wasting that came with AIDS. And then, apparently it also helped some of the other symptoms and things, and it worked on the seizures. So, I mean, look, there's 38 states that are doing medical
The medicine
marijuana.
that they were taking just created awful nausea.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And
it worked for that as well.
it counteracted that is the way I understood it.
And fortunately, and thank you, Elizabeth Taylor, among others, AmFAR has done great work in promoting education, the federal government and private industry. So the cocktails now, it's interesting, along with every personal injury attorney in North Florida on TV, and every other drug of a name that you really can't pronounce and has too many consonants and not enough vowels. There's now ads for HIV stabilizing drugs on TV. So it's come a long way from the original cocktail.
Oh, and you said a lot about Elizabeth Taylor, who was tremendous. Elton John. Was
Elton John,
tremendous.
right, exactly.
But I can tell you right now.
Well, that was Rock Hudson as well.
And in my opinion, the person that changed it and made it mainstream is still Magic.
Yes.
Magic Johnson.
Well, he made it acceptable for, macho men, black men on the DL, athletes, heterosexuals.
Yeah.
But, and I think a lot of it goes back to Elizabeth Taylor's
He's
friendship with
still
Rock
healthy
Hudson.
today. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Elizabeth was 100%
right.
Rock
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And Rock Hudson was Rock Hudson. When his movies were out, I was much, much younger, but I didn't know he was closeted.
No.
Didn't know that until, probably years after he died.
Yeah, I think it was when he died is when people found out.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Liberace, no question.
Yeah.
Rock Hudson, question.
Yeah. I mean, and no one would have thought Gomer Pyle.
Jim Neighbors, there you go. Yeah.
Because him and Rock Hudson had a relationship for years.
Wow. Good for them.
You didn't know that?
I did not. I mean, maybe I did in my lizard brain, but not that it's up there that I would have answered that correctly at trivia.
It was a horrible gay joke in the 80s. I can't say right now, but I'll tell you off air because it's completely not appropriate for everyone. But yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
No, that I didn't. I might have known that, but I don't remember it.
All right. The other funny story I have is when I was doing my little reading and stuff like that, evidently Cameron Diaz and Snoop went to the same high school.
Yes. And it might have been Beverly Hills High School, somewhere in California, somewhere in L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Long Beach.
Okay.
Long Beach Polytechnic.
Not this Long Beach.
High School. No,
different Long Beach.
Different Long Beach.
Different Long Beach.
Yeah, they got a more neutral accent.
Yeah. Easy.
So, but that was her dealer.
There you go.
Snoop Dogg was.
Well, that's another thing. All the celebrities that have their own strain of weed. Snoop has his own weed. Willie Nelson has his own weed. Willie Nelson, who smoked marijuana on the roof of the White House and is very proud and doesn't hesitate to tell that story. 91-year-old
Well, he
Willie
smoked at the amp because I can tell you right now, the guy who would legalize weed in 1972 was on the ramp with me. You know who it was?
No.
George McGovern.
Oh, there you go. Right. Okay. Poor George.
So and Blake, I think we have the picture up at the house. We have a picture of Willie and George and myself and Tom Dashiell's Tom Dashiell's ex-wife and Blake's mom. So the five of us are standing up there.
Nice.
But
Tom Dashiell's ex-wife.
yeah, that's who George brought with him.
Okay.
Wasn't a date; they were friends.
No, that's fine.
But we're sitting there waiting, and the drummer, who's also kind of the handler of Willie, comes up and talks to us, says, "Hey, we're going to be right back out." We're standing on the loading dock. He had pulled his bus right up to the loading dock, which is a little different, but it's done a little bit. So,
And Willie wasn't 91 then.
huh?
And he wasn't 91 then.
No, he was. It would have been 2009.
Okay.
So minus 15. Still not a young man.
Right.
But he goes down, goes into the bus. In the bus, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Opens the bus door. It's like a Cheech and Chong movie. It was the most beautiful. Like, if I'm about to meet Willie Nelson.
Right. You want him coming out of a
That's
cloud?
the intro. That's the intro I want.
He comes
So,
out of a cloud of smoke.
me and George make eye contact with each other because we'd had the conversation. That night, we'd already had the conversation. Would he legalize weed in 72 if he became president? He's like, it would have been hard, but I think I could have pulled it off. That was his answer from right before all of this happened.
Yeah.
So I'm standing with the guy who could have legalized weed and the guy who's known for more weed than any other human in the world. He's the only guy Snoop Dogg said, "Wow, I can't outsmoke him," and that's Willie Nelson.
Wow.
So
And saw him 3 weeks ago? Valentine's Day. Saw him at the Amp on Valentine's
yeah,
Day. He wasn't moving around that well, but I will tell you, his voice was strong and full. Very impressive show, Mr. Nelson. Keep up the good work.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, so Snoop performed at Francis Field. Didn't he get in like trouble for saying like blaze it up like?
no. Well, what he did, and we had in our contract, and I'm gonna say some naughty words. I don't think we have any kids watching right now. So we had in our contract, it was during the Crawfish Festival. So in the contract, you could curse during your actual song if it's art related, and that was kind of a way to pass the profanity thing because freedom of speech still is important. But we said do not cuss in between the dialogue. Everything's going great and stuff like that. Snoop finishes his last song. I think it's Gin and Juice or something like that. Finishes his last song. And as he's walking off stage, right in the mic before he drops the mic, I think it was a snub at what was in the contract. But he says, "Smoke more motherfucking weed," and drops the mic. By the way, nicest dude, but he had the most ginormous bodyguard. Wearing an Armani suit, and the picture that's at the house, and Blake's seen it before, the picture that's at the house has his security guard wearing an Armani suit, and he was just great dude, but man, you did not get too close to Snoop.
To Mr. Dog?
To Snoop. And in the picture, if I ever show you, it looks like I'm shaking Snoop's hand, but I'm actually grabbing a hand of a city commissioner to keep him from putting his hands on. Like he went to go touch Snoop, and I knew. I think the guy's name was Andre or something like that. It started with an A for sure. It was Adrian or Andre, and I saw him start to move, and I figured I better grab the commissioner before this guy, because this guy didn't know who this person was. He just saw him kind of pop forward towards him, and I, in that picture, it caught me grabbing his hand just to avoid that situation. So it's kind of a funny picture.
I'm sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what you got over there? We got about 6 minutes.
Snoop. Oh, excellent. Snoop's got weed. Mike Tyson's got weed. Willie's got weed. Those are the three that come off the top of my head are crafting their own marijuana.
What about Woody?
You know what? He goes back and forth. He quits smoking, and then he doesn't, and he comes back, and he doesn't.
What about McConaughey?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't think he's quit. I don't think he's quit smoking.
It's an easy thing to name.
Yeah.
You know what you'd call it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you got to get a little less New York in that right there.
Well.
All right. You got to get some Texan in there.
Yeah, never gonna happen.
Come on, try it.
Come on, I can't do it, man.
You got a little.
Come on, they spell marijuana with an H.
Yeah. Well, how do you know you're spelling it right?
I don't.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know that I spell anything right.
They were smoking it way before you did.
Honestly, I don't spell anything right. So
Yeah.
that's a proofreader there. But yeah, no.
So when you were growing up, and Blake, I think I've given you an edible before.
Yes.
All right.
Did you know it?
but he's never actually smoked, and he's taken a puff of this
Okay.
before, but it's not for him. It's just not in his nature.
More power to you.
All right, Dad, I give you full permission to tell you the story. Please tell my story to the.
No, you're the one who has to tell it. It's your story.
No.
I don't know which one you're talking about. I have thousands of stories about you.
The one where I took a gummy that freaked out.
Oh yeah.
Oh well.
Like,
Yeah, he freaked out, but it wasn't as bad as my freak out on my first bad. I've had edibles before,
Right.
But my first bad edible experience took place in the Denver airport. So we had went to the night before. We're in Denver, and we're flying to Las Vegas next. So we're in Denver. We go to Tom Petty's and Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh is opening for Tom Petty at Red Rocks.
Nice. Okay. Nice show.
Last performance of Tom Petty's at Red Rocks. So us being novices and not really knowing exactly what we're doing, we had a lot of edibles. We overbought. We have to get on the plane. We can't take it on the plane with us, obviously. So I'm looking at there's 4 brownies left and a gummy or something like that. I'm not sure what it was. So I say, who wants to split this with me? I take the brownie, eat half of it, give it to another person in our group. There was 4 of us in the group, and nothing happened. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna. And then I ate a whole nother brownie. All right, still nothing. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna. I don't want this to go to waste. And I think it was a chocolate. I don't think it was a gummy. So I did that. All right. Edibles affect me. Like right now, I'm stoned. I don't know if you guys can tell how stoned I am, but I'm stoned right now. Not gonna lie. But they affect me more than alcohol ever has. You know how it takes a little delay. It takes a little time.
Yeah.
All right. So we get to the airport.
30 to 90 minutes, depending on what. Sometimes more.
We get to the airport, and all my people that love me, have traveled with me, know I'm the guy in charge when we get to the airport. I'm like, okay, everybody got your tickets, everybody got your passports. Show me your tickets. Show me what you got going. Oh, those shoes are going to be tough. I mean, I'm that pain in the ass guy. All right. So we get to the airport, and we're trying to get to Vegas and stuff, and I'm lagging behind. And luckily, I was pushing a suitcase that had rollers on it, and they look back, and I'm literally leaning on this suitcase with rollers trying to go through the Denver airport. So, and I look at them, they start talking to me. I got the whole dolly faces, melting faces going on with them. So I was like, all right, guys, this isn't cool. Flying Southwest, if you fly in a group in Southwest, you send one person with a more expensive ticket, and then they save 3 seats.
Right.
I was the guy. Bad plan on our part. So we get about halfway there, and in Denver, not the customs, but where you go through security,
Right, TSA.
is on the ground level. You come in on the second level, but you got to go down to get through it. I look down. My head's going through. I'm going on the no-fly list. I'm never going to make it. It's going to be horrible. All this stuff's going through my head. All right. Still not the worst part. So we get there. I finally get through. And I get through. I hand you you're the customs agent right now. I hand you my driver's license. You look at it. Go to hand it back to me. All right. Everybody out there can't feel how creepy that was for both of us. All right. I grab it like this and I go, thanks. Now, Blake's mom at the time is aggravated with me. She's walked away and she's like, if he goes to jail, he goes to jail. Completely the right response. My 2 friends who are with us hang back just to watch me for entertainment value. So I go, thanks, man. All right. So we get there and now we have to walk through the little metal detector thing. All right. The one in front of me is broken. So now there's only one line. All right. His mom is ahead of a nun. There's maybe one other person behind him. In my stoned ass head, I was like, I can't get behind her. I'm going to fall. I'm going to rip off her habit. It's going to be a horrible. That went through my head so many times. So I literally have to make the decision. Do I get in line like a regular person, normal, who doesn't have what's going through their head, Or do I, and I jumped the line. I boxed out a nun.
God.
Totally boxed out a nun in that entire scenario. And then she was on our flight. So now my paranoid ass is going, she's following me.
And you got away without a strip search.
No. I think everyone else knew on. I think even the nun probably got a chuckle out of it.
Right.
I was that messed up.
Well, they must have been used to it in Colorado because, that was there. But I will tell you, since I think Colorado was the first state to legalize, and that was in 2012. Maybe it was Oregon or Washington. But I think Colorado's been legal since 2012 or so. Mm-hmm. They brought in over $2.6 billion in marijuana taxes. $2.6 billion.
Yeah, they got some cleaning up they need to use that money for.
Yeah, well,
so
everybody does. Yeah. Every place does. It's not balancing your budget, but it's $2.6 billion that you didn't have.
Yeah.
And that was money that was going to the black market.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and I don't necessarily know that legal and recreational marijuana at this point in time has stemmed the black market per se, but it's got to be cutting into it.
I think it definitely has.
It's got to be cutting into it.
I think it definitely has. All right, that's the end of our show. We're way out of time. We're over on time. Appreciate you guys. If you guys would, please hit that share button. Lenny, great show. Blake, hopefully you enjoyed it.
He was chuckling.
This is Bollox Talks and Tangents, and we'll be back next week.